Hello friends and welcome to the episode 7 review and breakdown of The Rings of Power season 2. So from an epic battle, impressive visuals and a moment to light the barrel of controversy, episode 7 has it all. The good, the bad and the potential ugly. Though there really isn't a bad per se, just the good and the ugly. And we will get into that in the review. But first, let's break down and discuss this episode, and please make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date and consider joining our Patreon. But let's just get right into it. Damn the River. As has been highly speculated, episode 7 showcases some geographical tactics by Adar and terrain tactics during battle. He's able to dam the river by aiming the trebuchet at the mountaintop, which crumbles down and blocks the river, allowing for a ground attack. Durin and Elrond reunite. We finally see the dynamic duo reunite, and during their conversation, Durin makes it clear for the first time that he's officially going to try and overthrow his father, so essentially begin a coup, something that his wife Disa has been essentially trying to hint at for the whole season and try and egg him on to do. Elrond also asks for his aid in battle. In the lore, the dwarves, though they shut their doors, allow the elves to escape through the mines. In some versions, Durin and Amdir led a host of elves and dwarves to help during the sack of Eregion. So maybe we'll see an alternate version here, but again with Elrond and Durin. The candles. Celebrimbor soon realizes that he has been living in a dream world, evidenced by a mouse making the same rotation repeatedly and the wax never melting throughout the day on the candles. This signifies that he's in some sort of loop or enchantment, which he then breaks free of when he confronts Anatar and looks out the window to see Eregion being absolutely destroyed, and you can now see the contrast on his body with him having a lot more blood, bruising and scars. True creation requires sacrifice. The theory is confirmed from our last episode. The Mithril was also under disguise and was in fact Sauron's blood, which he cut with his hand at the end of episode 6 and was also muttering as well, and which Celebrimbor used in the Rings of Men, thinking it was Mithril. This showcases the taint of Sauron and the compelling nature of the Rings of Men, which will eventually lead to humans becoming the Nazgul. Melian of the Valar. Adar mentions that Elrond has the quote, beauty of your foremother Melian of the Valar. Does this mean he has seen Melian firsthand and potentially her beauty firsthand? Because how would he either comment on it unless he's heard it being well renowned and people talking about it? For example, Gimli in The Lord of the Rings, where he'd always heard about the beauty and the hair of Galadriel, but saw it firsthand, was enchanted, so it could just be that. Or was he originally from Doriath or stayed there for a while, and maybe this is more of an insight into Adar's backstory, because of course Melian was with Thingol in the First Age Kingdom of Doriath, so is he an elf from there? At first light, the dwarves will arrive. Though the show has made some clear similarities and callbacks to the Peter Jackson trilogy, I don't believe this one was purposeful. However, all Lord of the Rings fans will be reminded of Look to the First Light on the 5th day from the Two Towers, where Gandalf arrives with the Rohirrim to save the day. This seems to be what they're building up to, but with the dwarves coming at first light at the end of the first day of the battle, so again, a much shorter battle the sack of Eregion is. Sauron's trauma. We hear about Sauron's brutal relationship with Morgoth and their battle of wills. Sauron contrasts his will for a perfect world and to heal Middle-earth with Morgoth's will of destruction, and tries to almost again convince Celebrimbor with that he's actually trying to do good and compare himself to his former master. Celebrimbor's ambition. In this dialogue, Sauron explains to Celebrimbor how his pride and ambition also led to his own downfall, not just Anatar's deception. This could relate to Celebrimbor's desire to outshine his grandfather Feanor and be remembered for a true creation. So essentially, Sauron is saying that, yes, I did deceive you, and yes, this did happen, but you let it happen. You were also the one who was egging this on and also wanting to have these rings of power be created, of course, until the 9. Galadriel takes the rings. Celebrimbor essentially sacrifices himself after accepting his fate. His ambition and pride allowed Anatar to thrive. He gives Galadriel the 9 rings and prepares to face Sauron, marking a tragic redemption moment as he tries to right the wrongs of the season and to essentially right the wrongs of the creation of the Rings of Power by sacrificing himself to allow the 9 to escape with Galadriel, and he will probably die in the aftermath. The steps of the House of the Myrdain. From the lore, one of the key moments from the sack of Eregion is when Celebrimbor and the Great Eye Myrdain face off against Sauron on the steps of their forge before being captured. This is replicated here with the group of Eregion soldiers we've seen in the last few episodes facing off against Sauron and of course dying, but we do see this moment of Eregion, or the important people of Eregion facing off against Sauron, and you even see him go down the steps, so we kind of see a reimagining almost of what Tolkien wrote. Aeglos in action. One of the coolest battle moments was seeing Aeglos in action on the battlefield, with Gil-galad delivering the final blow to Damrod after Elrond and Arondir held him down. Now let's get into the review of episode 7, and let me start off with what I liked. The Rings of Power, episode 7 delivers a strong battle, and we truly see Elrond shine as commander. I think the scale of this battle, even though it is not the size of the Pelennor Fields or Helm's Deep, or I'd even say it's probably around the same level but Battle of the Bastards, or a bit smaller, but actually probably a bit bigger. It is not to the size of even the battles we saw in The Hobbit either, but it's still a vast improvement on the battle of season 1. And we do get to see a decent sized army of orcs, and of course Elrond's charge was very good. And we did, of course, the only real thing though was it seemed like Eregion had about 15 archers. Would have been cool to see maybe a little bit more archers, but I think the best part of the battle of the episode is near the end when we finally see Gil-galad demonstrate after it's taken us nearly 15 episodes, but we now see why he is the High King. He was brave until the very last charge, and he led the elves and was the leader in their most perilous moments, showing the heroism we've been waiting for since season 1. Even especially he stepped up when Elrond was essentially devastated that the dwarves didn't show up. Him also mentioning on horseback when Elrond questions him on why he is here and he shouldn't be in battle, he says whenever their need is greatest, the High King should be there, something along those lines, which was again a really cool moment in the midst of the battle. And in my opinion, them taking down Damrod was probably one of the best and coolest action moments of the episode. The damming of the river was smart, with of course them aiming the trebuchets to the mountain. Again, it's a small shade, but we only see only a few parts of Eregion. It's a whole city being sieged. There seems to be hardly anyone living there, and we only see the same courtyard and piece of wall. But the actual battle on the ground was really good. And of course, we got to see the stuff with Celebrimbor and Anatar, which again, they're just at the epitome of their relationship now and their collaboration. So Celebrimbor's being able to see through Sauron's disguise, and Sauron's almost proud of it and is basically now almost giving him therapy in a way and trying to almost gaslight him into thinking that it is a lot his fault that this has all happened. So yes, their collaboration and partnership throughout the season has basically hit the threshold now. There's nowhere else to go now. It's all made clear that he was being deceived all along. Even Celebrimbor even calls him the Great Deceiver, which was nice. And if it was just all that, this probably would be the best episode of the show so far, because it had everything. But the glaring issue in the episode is the kiss between Elrond and Galadriel. It feels like the show at times takes 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards this season. The kiss, while not overtly romantic, as about L1 secretly giving a pin to Galadriel, it just feels unnecessary. The problem is that you can probably think of, in this scenario, 5 different ways L1 could have passed the pin to Galadriel without a kiss. Even if the kiss was the only option, there could have been a more compelling scenario, like L1 kissing Galadriel's hand while slipping the pin to her. That's just one idea. The dilemma of Galadriel being locked up and imprisoned by Adar is made up by the showrunners in the first place, so they have essentially created this dilemma and issue. But again, the main point here I'm trying to get at is, it was just, in this scenario, it just didn't make sense. It didn't need to happen. And in what could have been a pivotal episode with an incredible battle for TV, this kiss now has the potential to muddy the conversation and online chatter around it, especially since the kiss could have easily been avoided. The most obvious problem is that Elrond ends up even marrying Galadriel's daughter Celebrian, so now if we do end up seeing that in the show, it will be very weird. And my thoughts on it is, again, I don't think it is actually romantic, even though there have been, I can even put on screen right now at the end of episode 4, we do see them get quite close and saying, you should do anything to protect the ring, or do it for me, and they're just been playing back and forth with the collaboration and relationship between Elrond and Galadriel. But it just seems like it's just something that they've just decided to do. That's the best way to put it. There's like no real implication, because they, of course, you had to give the pin, but in a scenario where there was no other way to give that pin and they had to kiss, that would, okay, still, they didn't need to happen, but that makes sense. But here, there's so many different ways he could have gone through, and the fact he held her face for so long. But again, my thing less here is that not the problem that actually happened, but the fact that it's happened in an episode where it could have ended up being talked about such as a great episode, but instead all this great stuff that we have seen, you know, Gil-galad's redemption, seeing these cool battle moments, see Celebrimbor and Anatar reach the pinnacle of their collaboration, instead it's going to be probably overwhelmed a lot by this kiss. So that's the only real big tragic thing for me, and then my biggest problem with it is that in a show that I had a lot of controversy, why add more? I think is the best way to put it. But the showrunners had a reason, and let's see if that reason pays off, as we still have an episode. So hopefully they go back to it. That'll make the most sense. It'll be weird if it's just, you know, a kiss out of nowhere, but again, time will tell. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. But until the next video, my friends, goodbye.